Hi, it's me. I make dumb stuff on Instagram and YouTube. Link in the description. Please follow my Instagram. Anyway, if you seen my last video, you would have known that I've started a webcomic of sorts. Well, in that video, I said I'd be making more videos going in depth about certain episodes and chapters and stuff. And since I've been going through a bit of an art block and not having much motivation to draw, I thought I'd start on these videos. So this is part 1 of me reviewing my webcomic Opposites Attract, episodes 1 through 5. Alright, so we're gonna kick things off with the first 2 panels, I think, of it, just being like a small introduction and like starting with the climax to get like the reader interested. So I'm going to be dubbing over some parts of it, but for the most part I'm going to leave it like off to the side and just talk about my thoughts while drawing and stuff, because I do want you guys to go and read the webcomic because it doesn't have that much attention and stuff because I'm a really small creator. Alright, so it reads, Julius, age 24, currently performing a song about the love of his life, and Matt, age 26, standing behind the curtain watching the love of his life perform. Now, this already tells you a lot about the story, like they're in love with each other, he's going to be performing, and while it may be like a huge like spoiler for the end, it's more about, how they get feelings for each other and all those interactions in between. So, one thing I really want to talk about is like how I used to draw. Like, it wasn't that long since I started it, but I hate it. Like their hair. What is that? What is that lumpy, disgusting shape? I pray to whatever holy being is out there that they can find peace with their hairlines, cause this is not it. One day I'm probably gonna go back and redraw these, but like I'm already not good at keeping up with the new stories, so I'm definitely not gonna worry about the old stuff. But anyway, we can see from these new panels, on the biggest stage in the biggest event of the year, something happened that no one would have expected. Again, showing like in the future, something big happens, and while he's performing the song, and well, I guess spoiler, but basically, like, being gay in this world is like not very acceptable, or like the mass majority is like, that's weird, we don't like it, kind of like here, even though this takes place on a different planet. That's also a thing that I'm gonna go into, like the history of this place, because it's gonna be explained in the comic, but like not as in depth as I'd like it to be, and probably in like a separate chapter that's not an introductory one, which is probably not going to be the best idea for world building, because like a lot of it, like, you're going to be left in the dark, like, why do they have magnets on their heads? But I'll go in depth with that on a further video. So skipping a bit forward in the comic or back in time, we see that we're now 6 months before that big event, and we see Julius talking to one of his friends, thanking them for groceries and them asking for a favor. I added this part in the comic to help illustrate how like poor Julius is, because that's a point in the comic, and that's why he takes the job, because he's poor and he lives in the poorest district in the entire world, basically. We see Julius going for a walk, and a help sign that shows the assistant position, or they're looking for, and doing live interviews, and obviously that catches his attention because he's poor. And this is another part where like I hate the art in this part, like the shading and the highlights is like a weird gradient thing. I don't know what was going through my head, but obviously not something good, because what? No. And like the purple outline, it doesn't look good. But then it cuts to inside of like a fancy house, and we see somebody singing like a song or a lullaby or whatever. And I also wanted to mention here that I forgot to add the magnet part on him, so yeah, I hate that too. If you haven't realized, a lot of this is just gonna be me complaining about a bunch of little details. Be excited for that, I guess. So after that, we see him planning on what to wear. He gets dressed and calls for Evan. Now, since Matt is rich, he has, people to help him and other assistants, I guess, and Evan is one of them. And originally, he wasn't going to be important, but then I'm like, I need drama, so I decided to turn him into an actual character who does things in the plot. So this next part is just like him having a conversation with Evan, and it starts to get a little flirty, and that's like another part of Evan and Matt's character, that Matt flirts with everybody relentlessly, no matter what. And Evan is also like romantically attracted to Matt, even though he gets flustered a lot, like very easily. He still obviously has feelings for him. And then it gets to this part which like was gonna be more explicit like in my original script for the story, but I decided to make it like more vague, and I'm gonna leave like the rest of the conversation out of this video so you can like look at it, because I feel like it's more deep and I don't feel like reading all of it and putting it on screen. But I don't know, it feels like a little more serious than it actually is, but also it is very like dramatic and important here. And then in the next episode, it goes to like a scene that parallels like Matt's introduction, and we see Julius's house, which is a lot more empty. It still has kind of a lot of space, but there's not much going on. And he's humming something, we don't know what. And we see him like cooking or cutting up an orange, I don't know. And he's thinking about what he should wear to the interview, because, he's poor and doesn't have anything, and I'm going to say that a lot, because he's poor. So then the story cuts forward a little bit, about an hour later, and we see him at the train station, which he's never been there, because one, he's never really had a reason to go to like a different level than the one he's on, and there's also a crowd there, which he's not used to, because not a lot of people live like in his area, I guess. And from that, we see a conversation between two of the train workers, and asking about if Julius is even allowed to go up there, because he lives on 4.5, or that's what his area is called. And the place the interview takes at is like level 0, and then it goes from like the higher the number, like the lower it is, like where it exists. So yeah. So going a bit forward, we see him waiting for his train, and we see like a shot of how the world Z, which is like the name of like this whole area, and it's kind of like underground-ish, or is the best way I can explain it. So yeah, that's basically it. The first episodes 1 through 5, we're still on chapter 1, and the day I applied for a job is what it's called. And I'm gonna be working on the next episode. It usually updates on Wednesdays and Sundays, but Wednesday was yesterday for me, and I didn't update Wednesday because I was really tired for no particular reason. I'm just lazy. But yeah, if you enjoyed and wanna see more of it, like so you can actually read it and not have blurry pictures, my bad voiceover, then please check it out. I worked really hard on everything in this video and on the comic itself, so I hope you'll look for it and subscribe to it and like all the episodes, and yeah, bye.